Welcome to my expat stories. This one's going to hurt in a way the younger crowd might not understand yet. It's about finding love again after loss, about trusting the wrong people when you're vulnerable, and about the sound that ended everything. Frank, 63, retired construction foreman from Tampa, Florida. Wife died of cancer in 2019, kids grown and gone. Went to Colombia in 2021 to visit an old work buddy. Met a woman who made him feel alive again. Spent 2.5 years building something he thought was real. $87,000 later, he walked into an apartment he paid for and heard a sound he'll never forget. The woman was 28. The man in there with her was Frank's best friend of 35 years. Here's Frank. I retired in 2020, right as COVID was shutting everything down. 38 years in construction. Started as a labourer at 25, worked my way up to foreman on commercial projects. Big office buildings, hospitals, schools. I knew how to build things that lasted. Thought I knew how to build a life too. My wife Linda died in October 2019. Breast cancer. We'd been married 37 years. She fought it for 3 years before it took her. By the end, she weighed 90 pounds, and I was sleeping in a chair next to the hospital bed we'd set up in our living room. When she finally went, I felt relief and guilt in equal measure. Relief that she wasn't suffering anymore. Guilt that I was still here. The kids tried to help. My daughter Sarah came down from Atlanta for 2 weeks after the funeral. My son Michael drove over from Clearwater every Sunday for months. But they had their own lives, their own families. I didn't want to be the sad widower, dad they had to manage. So I told them I was fine. Told them I'd figure it out. I didn't figure it out. I just sat in the house we'd lived in for 32 years and tried not to look at her chair or her coffee mug or the garden she'd spent every Saturday tending. By early 2021, I was going stir crazy. The walls felt like they were closing in. That's when Tommy messaged me. Tommy Breslin. We'd worked together for 20 years before he retired early and moved to Colombia in 2018. He'd been sending me photos for years. Mountains, colonial buildings, beautiful women, always saying I should visit, always saying Colombia was cheaper and warmer and better than sitting around Tampa waiting to die. I finally said yes. Booked 3 weeks, flew into Bogota, then took a bus to Bucaramanga. Tommy met me at the terminal. He looked good, tan, relaxed, 10 pounds lighter than the last time I'd seen him. He clapped me on the back and said, "About damn time, Frankie." Bucaramanga wasn't what I expected. It's not a tourist town like Cartagena or Medellin. It's a mid-sized city built into the mountains. Warm but not tropical. Busy but not chaotic. Tommy lived in a neighbourhood called Cabecera. Nice area. Cafes, parks, families walking their dogs. He had a 2-bedroom apartment overlooking Parque del Aguasar. Said I could stay as long as I wanted. I met Natalia my second week there. Tommy took me to this restaurant near the park. Local spot, no English menu. Families eating sancocho and bandeja paisa at plastic tables. Natalia was our waitress. She wasn't flashy, no makeup. Hair tied back, simple black pants and a white shirt. But when she smiled, it changed her whole face. She looked tired but kind. Like someone who'd worked hard her whole life and hadn't let it make her bitter. Tommy ordered for both of us in Spanish. Natalia wrote it down and brought us beers while we waited. When she came back with the food, Tommy introduced us. "This is my friend Frank," he said in English. "First time in Colombia." She smiled at me. "Welcome," she said. "You like Bucaramanga?" I said it beat the hell out of Florida in February. She laughed. "Florida," she said. "Like Miami?" I said not quite. "Tampa." She nodded like she'd heard of it but wasn't sure where it was. I went back to that restaurant 3 more times that week. Sometimes with Tommy, sometimes alone. Natalia always remembered me. Always smiled when I walked in. On my last day before flying home, she sat down at my table during a slow moment. Asked if I'd liked Colombia. I said I did. More than I expected. She asked if I was married. I hesitated. Then I said I was widowed. She touched my hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "That must be very hard." I flew back to Tampa and couldn't stop thinking about her. Not in a creepy way, just in a way that made the house feel a little less empty when I did. We'd exchanged numbers. I messaged her a few days after I got home. Just said thank you for being kind. She responded right away. Said it was nice to meet me, said I should come back. I did. 2 months later. Rented an Airbnb in Cabecera this time. Told Tommy I wanted my own space. Didn't tell him it was because I wanted to see Natalia without him around. She and I started spending time together. Coffee in the mornings, before her shift. Walks in Parque del Agua in the evenings. She told me about her life. She was 28. From Florida Blanca, a suburb just outside Bucaramanga. She had 3 younger siblings. Her dad had left when she was 12. Her mum cleaned houses. Natalia had been working since she was 14. Sent money home every month. Never finished school. Never travelled outside Santander province. I told her about Linda, about the kids, about building things my whole life and not knowing what to do with my hands now that I wasn't working. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't try to fix anything. Just listened. That meant more to me than she probably realised. By the end of that trip, we were together. Not officially. We hadn't talked about labels, but I kissed her goodnight one evening after walking her home and she kissed me back. Soft, slow. Like she meant it. I went back to Tampa 2 weeks later, but we talked every day. Video calls, voice messages, photos of her day. I'd show her my yard, my truck, the stupid birds that woke me up every morning. She'd show me the restaurant, her neighbourhood, her little niece who loved to photobomb her calls. By August, I knew I wanted to go back and stay longer. Maybe permanently. My kids thought I was crazy. Sarah said I was moving too fast. Michael asked if I was sure this wasn't just loneliness. I told them I was 63 years old and I'd earned the right to make my own decisions. They backed off, but I could tell they were worried. I flew back to Bucaramanga in September 2021. This time I told Natalia I wanted to stay, at least for a while, see where things went. She cried. Happy tears, said she'd been scared to ask. Scared I'd think she was trying to trap me or use me. I told her I didn't think that. I told her I hadn't felt this way since Linda was alive and I didn't want to waste whatever time I had left being alone. We moved in together in October, not into my Airbnb, into a small apartment she found in Florida Blanca. 2 bedrooms, decent kitchen, balcony overlooking the street. Rent was 1.2 million pesos a month, about $300. I paid it, told her to keep working if she wanted, but I could cover the rent and bills. She kept working, said she liked having her own money. I respected that. Tommy was around a lot, more than I expected. He'd drop by unannounced, stay for dinner, drink my beer, sit on the couch talking to Natalia in Spanish while I half followed along. At first I didn't mind. He was my friend. He'd been in Colombia longer. He knew the city. He was helping me settle in. That's what I told myself. But something felt off, small things. The way he'd touch her shoulder when he walked past. The way she'd laugh a little harder at his jokes. The way they'd switch to Spanish when I was in the room like they didn't want me to understand. I pushed it down. Told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself Tommy had been my friend for 35 years and Natalia loved me. There was no reason to think otherwise. I bought her a car in December. A 2019 Renault Logan. White. Decent condition. 75 million pesos. About $18,000. She needed it to get to work and to visit her family. Made sense. She cried when I gave her the keys. Said no one had ever done something like that for her. I told her she deserved it. Her family always seemed to need something. Her mum's roof was leaking. Her brother needed money for a welding course. Her sister's kid was sick and needed medicine. Every month something came up, usually between 500,000 and 2 million pesos, between $125 and $500. I paid it. What else was I going to do? Say no? Let her mum's roof collapse. I had the money. My pension was $3,200 a month. My savings were healthy. Linda and I had paid off the house years ago. I could afford to help. By mid-2022, I'd spent maybe $35,000 on her family. Plus the car, plus furnishing the apartment, plus a failed attempt at helping her start a small catering business that cost me another $22,000 in equipment and permits that went nowhere. I wasn't keeping track closely. I was just living, helping the woman I loved, building a life. Tommy was still around constantly. He'd moved to a place nearby, said his AC was broken and stayed at our apartment for 2 weeks in July, slept on the couch, ate our food. I didn't say anything. He was my friend. That's what friends do. But I started noticing things. The way Natalia would put on makeup when she knew he was coming over. The way she'd check her phone constantly and smile at the screen. The way Tommy's cologne would linger in the apartment after he left. I asked her about it once. Casually. Said it felt like Tommy was here a lot. She shrugged. Said he was lonely. Said he'd been nice to her when I wasn't around. Said I should be glad they got along. I nodded. Told myself she was right. But something in my gut twisted. One night in September, Natalia said she was going to her apartment in Florida Blanca. I didn't know she still had an apartment. She said she kept it for family visits, paid rent on it with money from her job, said her sister was staying there and needed help with something. I said okay, didn't think much of it. She left around 8 p.m. I sat on the couch watching TV, tried to relax, couldn't. Something felt wrong. That same gut feeling I'd been ignoring for months was screaming now. I checked her location on my phone. We'd shared locations months ago for safety. She was at the Florida Blanca apartment. Okay, she wasn't lying about that. But then I remembered something. Tommy had mentioned he'd rented a car that week, said his scooter was in the shop. I wondered if he was with her. I told myself I was being crazy, told myself to just go to bed. But I couldn't. I grabbed my keys and drove to the address she'd given me months ago for the apartment. Took 20 minutes in light traffic. I parked across the street. 3rd floor. Lights on. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, feeling like an idiot. Then I saw it. Tommy's rental car. Parked 2 spots down from mine. A white Chevrolet Spark. I knew it was his because of the dent in the rear bumper he'd complained about when he picked it up. My chest went tight. My hands started shaking. I got out of my truck and walked across the street, stood outside the building, looked up at the lights, told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe he was helping with whatever her sister needed. Maybe it was innocent. But I knew it wasn't. I knew before I even went upstairs. I had a key. She didn't know I had a key. She'd given me one months ago when she first mentioned the apartment. Said I could use it if I ever needed to store anything. I'd made a copy. Never told her. Forgot I even had it until that moment. I pulled it out of my pocket and stared at it. I walked upstairs. The building was quiet. No one in the hallways. The kind of place where people minded their own business. I stood outside the door for maybe a minute, listening. I could hear music inside. Low. Colombian music. Vallenato maybe. And voices. Hers, his. Laughing. I unlocked the door and pushed it open slow. The apartment was small. Just one main room with a kitchen on one side and a bed on the other. The lights were dim, candles on the counter, 2 empty wine glasses. And there on the bed in the apartment I'd been paying rent on without knowing it was Natalia and Tommy. I stood there frozen. They hadn't heard me come in. The music was too loud. Tommy had his back to me. Natalia was underneath him, her face turned toward the window. Eyes closed, making sounds I'd never heard her make with me. That rhythmic sound. Skin on skin, the bed frame creaking, that sound you can't unhear once you've heard it. I don't remember moving, but suddenly I was across the room. My hand grabbed Tommy's shoulder and pulled him off her. Natalia screamed, covered herself with the sheet. Tommy looked up at me. Not scared, not sorry, just surprised, like I'd interrupted something that wasn't supposed to concern me. I didn't say anything, just swung. My fist connected with his face, his nose crunched. Blood everywhere. He fell back against the wall. Natalia was screaming my name, grabbing at my arm. I shook her off. Looked at Tommy on the floor holding his nose. Looked at Natalia clutching the sheet. Looked at the wine glasses, the candles, the bed. I turned and walked out. Didn't slam the door. Just left it open. Walked down the stairs. Got in my truck. Drove. I don't remember where I went. I just drove. Through Florida Blanca. Through Bucaramanga. Up into the mountains. Pulled over somewhere on a dark road and sat there. My hands were still shaking. There was blood on my knuckles. Tommy's blood. I checked into a hotel near the airport. Cheap place. Sat on the bed and stared at the wall. My phone was blowing up. Messages from Natalia. Missed calls from Tommy. I turned it off. The next morning I turned my phone back on. One message from Tommy sent at 6 a.m. I'm leaving. Flying back to Tampa today. I'm sorry, mate. That was it. 35 years of friendship. One text. I blocked him. Haven't spoken to him since. Don't plan to. Natalia kept trying. Messages every few hours for the next week. Frank, please. It was a mistake. He used me. I was confused. Please talk to me. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because there was nothing to say. I'd seen everything I needed to see. 2 weeks later, she messaged again. Can we meet, please? I need to explain. I just want to talk. One time. I should have said no, but some part of me needed to hear what she'd say. Needed to look her in the eye one more time. So I agreed. We met at the same restaurant where I'd first seen her, middle of the afternoon. Quiet. She was already sitting at a table when I arrived, wearing a white dress I'd bought her for her birthday. That pissed me off more than I expected. She looked tired, eyes red like she'd been crying. But I didn't feel bad for her. She started talking before I even sat down. Said Tommy had pursued her. Said he'd told her I was going back to the States soon. Said he'd lied to her. Said she'd made a mistake. Said she loved me. Said she wanted to fix this. I sat there listening. Didn't interrupt. Let her talk until she ran out of words. Then I leaned forward and said one thing. I didn't lose you that night, Natalia. I just finally saw you. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried to speak. Couldn't. I stood up. Walked out. Didn't look back. She kept the car. It was in her name anyway. I wasn't going to fight over it. Wasn't worth it. She tried to keep the apartment too. Said she'd been paying rent. I told the landlord I'd been paying it. Showed him the bank transfers. He gave me back the security deposit. 2.5 million pesos. About $600. I gave it to him as a tip and walked away. I moved to a different neighbourhood. Cheaper place near the edge of town. 1 bedroom. No balcony. No memories. Rent was 800,000 pesos. About $200. I could afford it on my pension alone. Didn't need to touch my savings anymore. I'm still in Bucaramanga. Didn't see the point in leaving. Running wouldn't change what happened. Wouldn't change the fact that I'd trusted 2 people I shouldn't have. The woman I loved and the friend I'd known for 35 years. Both gone in one night. My kids know some of it. Not everything. Sarah knows it didn't work out with Natalia. Michael knows Tommy and I aren't speaking. They don't know why. I'm not going to tell them. Some things you carry alone. I'm 63 years old. I've got my pension. I've got enough savings left to be comfortable. I've got a quiet apartment in a city that doesn't ask questions. That's enough. I don't go to that restaurant anymore. Don't go to Parque del Agua. Don't drive through Florida Blanca. I stay in my part of town, buy my coffee from the same corner shop every morning, nod to the same old man who sits on the bench by the bus stop. Keep to myself. People ask sometimes, other expats, where's your girlfriend? What happened to your buddy? I just say it didn't work out. They nod. They've all heard versions of this story before. The names and amounts change, but the ending's always the same. I'm not bitter. At least I don't think I am. I'm just harder. More careful. I don't trust like I used to. Don't open up like I used to. Linda used to say I was too trusting, that I always saw the best in people. She was right. And it cost me. I think about that night sometimes. The sound. The candles. The look on Tommy's face when he realised I was there, not scared. Not sorry. Just surprised. Like I'd interrupted something that had nothing to do with me, like I was the intruder in my own life. That's the part that still gets me. Not the betrayal itself, but how easy it was for them. How little it seemed to matter. How quickly Tommy left. How easily Natalia tried to come back when he was gone. I wasn't a person to them. I was a resource, a wallet, a convenience. And when I stopped being convenient, they moved on. I spent $87,000 over 2.5 years. Car, family help, business attempt, rent on an apartment I didn't know existed, furniture, bills, dinners, trips. It's gone. I'm not getting it back. I'm not even trying. What bothers me more is the time. I gave them 2.5 years. 2.5 years I could have spent with my kids. With my grandkids. Hell, just alone in Tampa. In the house Linda and I built together. Instead I gave it to people who didn't deserve a minute of it. But I'm still here. Still in Bucaramanga. Still waking up every morning. Still drinking my coffee. Still watching the city move around me. I'm not the same man who landed here in 2021 looking for a second chance. That man's gone. This version is quieter, colder, smarter. And maybe that's just what surviving looks like. Frank didn't just lose money. He lost trust. A friend of 35 years and the woman he thought would be his second chance. But he's still standing. This is my expat stories. Back soon.